Hello, Sarah Jane Critchley here, author of A Different Joy, Parent's Guide to Living Better with Autism, Dyslexia, ADHD and more, and founder of A Different Joy. So, what I want to talk to you about this week is special interests and how those can become the gateway to your world. How the right special interest followed in the right way and given appropriate support can be a hugely life-affirming and joyful thing to do. I was very struck that a couple of my autistic friends this week posted about their experience about special interest, and one of them had a special interest, a lovely lady, had a special interest about horses and maps and was told that they'd be no good, she should just forget about them. Guess what she now does? She surveys equestrian properties for a living, makes a very nice living doing it, and she gets to be with horses and she gets to look at maps and she gets to draw those up. Now, were those the only skills that she needed? No, of course not. So just knowing about the horses wasn't enough. Just knowing about maps wasn't enough. But it gave her a way in to the other skills she needed to be incredibly successful at doing that. So that was one example. Another example from an amazing man who's also an artist was how when he was a child he was told that he should put down those stones because they're dirty and you don't know where they've been. Well, being autistic and incredibly resourceful, of course, he knew exactly where they'd been. He could tell you at what time scale they were formed, when they were developed, where they came from exactly and what they were. Of course he knew that. Self-diagnosed as a paleontologist at 6 and a fully qualified paleontologist at, I think, something around 21. So it just goes to show you really can't judge these things, but what you can do is you can look at what's in the special interest and you can work out how best to use and encourage and support that so that it gives somebody the best possible chance of having a really exciting, fulfilling and joyful life based on what they enjoy. So I thought I'd put together a framework because special interest can be gold. So let's just talk through each one of these. Oh, before we get there, sorry. The first thing is it legal and safe? If it isn't, if you know someone who's got a special interest that's going to get them into trouble, then you have a responsibility to try and steer that in a healthier way. And the best way to do that in a lot of cases is to work out what it is that they're getting from that particular interaction. So, for example, there was a young man who liked stroking material, and what he would do is he would go up to ladies' skirts and he would feel the stockings that they were wearing or the tights, and obviously that, as a grown man, would get him into huge trouble. But if he were given a small piece of that material, which he could keep in his hand, he could use it as a sort of touch thing to touch and to have contact with, then that can supply that need. Or alternatively, you could try and test different sorts of stockings. I don't know, there are lots of possibilities, but if you deconstruct what's actually in that and think really, really carefully about what it might be. My boy, for example, is really fascinated by gaming. And we're talking about a particular game that he does, a tabletop game, which he does with his friends, absolutely loves. And what's actually underneath that is a passion for characterization, for storytelling, for social sciences, for the way that civilizations develop. And so he's now going to look at doing sociology, history, and even maybe law, because those sort of things affect how your society develops, and that's his passion, and he can try out different things through those scenarios that he's playing. So that's a really, really constructive use of that special interest. So how can a special interest be gold? What sort of things would make a really gold level special interest? Let's have a look. So, sorry, I don't like that bit there. So the first thing is around growth. Is it something that gives the young person the capacity to grow? Is it going to give them the opportunity to be with other people and to develop skills that they will need for their lives, but in a way that's really meaningful to them? So it's not coincidental. It's not a skill that happens somewhere out there that's kind of not relevant to them. We have to make it relevant for it to really work. So does it give them the opportunity for growth? I know loads of people who will do all sorts of things to be in a place where they can talk to other people who share the same interests as them. And who doesn't want to be with people who share the same interests? It's soul destroying to spend all your time trying to talk to people who have no interest whatsoever in what you're doing and what you're interested in. So why not go for that? But those social interactions could be very difficult in a different scenario. If it's in a scenario of things that you love and are passionate about, fab, go for it. So, does it give you an opportunity for growth? And often that's around deconstructing what goes into that special interest and then building on it. So if you decided that, for example, let's take the lady with the equestrian surveyor, you'd work out what elements you need to do, and then you have the motivation to go around it. You could spend your time around horses, you could spend your time with maps if you do this sort of thing. And the other skills that you would need to do that are, and then you build towards those. So you take a very methodical, planned approach to future life. It's fantastic. Always a good idea. Second thing, does it give you opportunities? Are there opportunities for you to learn? Are there opportunities for you to take that interest one stage further? So that's always a good thing to think about. And you might have to put some time and attention into that and do a bit of research. Is there a chance for them to look at different ways that they might follow that special interest? And I think it's really important that we don't constrain the experiences of our children with SEN. We give them more opportunities to explore and to try things. We can't be so risk averse that we don't let them ever try and fail. You've got to try lots of things in order to know what works. So we need to provide those opportunities. The next one is somewhere where learning is encouraged. Build a pathway to looking at the next development, the next thing. How can you take that interest and make it bigger, make it better, make it more professional, make it more useful, make it more friendly, all of those things. Somewhere where it's part of a growth mindset, it's part of the learning. And the final thing, not all special interests have to be for a purpose. Lots of people that I know, in fact, one of the things I like to do is just to be really in the things that I adore. And you get into that flow state when you're doing what you really love and you're just kind of rocking with it, and everything falls away. You're oblivious to anything else. You might even forget to eat or drink. So it's useful to have some support or reminders set if that happens. But where you're really in the zone. So like footballers who are just so good at what they do that the ball just flows off them. Or think of Usain Bolt when he's running flat out. That is a flow state. If you think about researchers who are really into the books and really into the subjects and they're into the writing in depth, or an author when you suddenly feel that your experiences are your characters are really coming to life and they're starting to talk to you in their own way. All of that it brings you into a flow state where you almost feel like things are happening through you instead of happening to you. And it reduces the distance between the feelings that you have and you. There's less of having to have less of a thought process to go with it. And just having the de-stressing of that experience, it's fantastic. So if you're thinking about following any fantastic artists, I'd highly recommend the work of Jon Adams, and I'll give you a link in the description below, and you can follow his work. It's absolutely amazing. Follow that, but just think about how we can make that gold. It can be a real pleasure, a real joy, and for heaven's sake, who doesn't want more joy in their lives? So, I'm going to finish that there for now. I look forward to speaking to you again next week. Until then, I hope you live your passion and I hope you enjoy every moment, and even the ones that are difficult. There's always something to be found. So, if you've got this anywhere other than on YouTube, pop along to the website at www.differentjoy.com and find out more. Sign up for more of this. Anyway, take care. Lots of love. Bye.